All right, I just want to talk a little bit about back pain because I've seen a recent influx of kind of the same stuff with some people that are members here, but also just people that I'm out and about talking to. When it comes to back pain, one of the big culprits could be our hip flexors. They get tight while we sit, and then when we go to stand up, they don't want to stretch, right? Now, this may not work, what we're gonna go over, it may not work for you, but there is a way to test it to see if it helps. So, if you find yourself in a chair and then you stand up, I just want you to think, when I stand up, what did I push to come up out of the chair? I notice a lot of times when people have issues with their hip flexors and they have back pain, it's because as they stand up, they push with the balls of their feet. And when you push with the balls, toes, things like that, it makes your hip flexors do a lot of the heavy lifting, whereas we actually want the glutes to be the main lifter for it, to actually stand us up out of it. So if I come here and I put all my weight on the balls of my feet, I'll get people that stand up and they're like, they get here and then they gotta they just get kind of stuck right here for a second, and then the hip flexors will finally let go. And they'll go to bend over and they'll go to pick something up, and those hip flexors aren't supposed to be lifting you back up. They're on the front side. Your glutes, the erectors on your back, those should be the things that lift you back up to an erect posture, right? But people have this issue where they put everything through the toes. So if you stand up out of a chair and you're like, oh, and then you gotta kind of do this, first thing I want you to do is try standing up and push through your heels more. When we push through the heels, we're gonna get our glutes to work a little bit harder. But that right there, if you stand up out of that and you're like, oh, it feels better, that tells us right then and there that our hip flexors are probably the problem that we're having here. So I want to show you something that you can do pretty easily to help with your hip flexors. And people are like, oh, we need to stretch them. Not always, but that can definitely help. First thing I want to do is I want to be seated, all right? I want to sit tall. We don't want to hunch down in it. We don't want to lean back, any of this stuff. We want to be tall. And all I want to do, level one, lift my leg. I want to hold, I want to be tall, right? You can put your hands on the chair, whatever, to help stabilize you. We just want to lift that leg and then put it back down. Hold it for like 5 seconds. You may find out it's hard just to lift your leg off, right? We should be able to get that knee way up, and we should be able to hold for a second, and then we'll do the same thing with the other leg. Again, we should be trying to tilt into it. We should be nice and tall as we do it. Level two, if for some reason that doesn't help enough, I'm gonna push down with my hand and then try to lift my knee against my own pressure. The hip flexor is gonna have to work really hard. Again, we still want to be tall. We don't want to be here, right? Because when we get hunched down into it, hip flexors and other stuff, we have other stuff besides hip flexors that really get involved at that point. So give this a go, and then give pushing on the knee a go, right? And after you do those, stand up and see how it feels. Maybe do a little toe touch action, see how that feels. A lot of times people that have this same back pain, when they do a toe touch, it actually will feel pretty good. They'll say, oh, that's a good stretch. But we actually need to get the other side of the hip flexors right here to let go. So again, sit tall. If you stand up and you push through the balls of your feet and it's hard to stand up because the hip flexors get tight, we need to get that stretched out. If you stand up and you push through the heels and it feels better, again, that's just telling us that the hip flexors are the issue. And then from there, we want to sit tall, try to lift that leg, hold it for about 5 seconds. Do the same with the other leg, do a couple reps, or you can go straight into pushing down with the hand and try to lift that knee. Again, we got to sit tall, right? Then we can get up, see how it feels, test different things. But that is an easy fix for people that have back pain after sitting, especially if they are getting up using the balls of their feet.